Hello, my friends. Happy Wednesday evening, September 2nd. I'm going to give the internet a couple of seconds, maybe 60 seconds or so, to do its thing, where we are going to talk to you about being laid off, the pandemic, and maybe something you can do to help alleviate what's going on if you're having financial issues. It's mainly going to be business related. If you usually follow us for motivation or something like that, this is going to be more financial motivation. Okay, looks like we got all the technical stuff going. Okay, let me just double check one more thing. There we go. Okay. Hey everybody, it's Patrick Allman from StopDoingNothing.com. If you've never watched before, welcome. We got we got a podcast going on. We got YouTube going on, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about being laid off and the importance of independence and some things I think you can do right now if you've been laid off, or you think someone's going to be laid off, or you know someone who's been laid off in your family, to basically kind of get a head start on some financial independence, some entrepreneurship. I'm going to show you how to do this really quick and easy. It's taken me 20 years before things get really bad. Because I know right now a lot of you are digging into like your savings, you're digging into your investments, you're digging into money you had saved for vacations and cruises, and you're just kind of scraping by while you're looking for work. I was watching the news earlier and I saw that United's laying off like 150,000. I can't think what the exact number is. If somebody knows what that number is, let me know. But United's laying off like a sick number of people. And I've seen other companies like that. I'm sure you all know, like a restaurant or 5 or 10 that's gone out of business. Several of the local places that I've frequented have going out of business. You know what? I just realized my microphone's way the heck over here. Someone should have said something to keep me in check. There's all kinds of people being laid off, and it's painful, and I hate seeing it. I hate seeing anybody struggle financially. And probably one of the reasons I hate it the most is because I have so freaking been there. I have scraped by. I've eaten my share of top ramen and nasty ass macaroni and cheese. And you know what? I have had every flavor of hamburger helper out there. And it's true. Sometimes you don't need the hamburger. Sometimes that helper is pretty good by itself. So, if you want to talk about being poor, I can talk about that all day long. I really can. But my whole point is that shit's painful, and it does not feel good. It feels humiliating, and it feels humiliating to choose not being gainfully employed, not contributing to society. Whether you're not working at McDonald's or whether you're not working at your corporate job, that shit just feels embarrassing sometimes. So I completely understand, but I want to give you maybe some ideas of things you can do to kind of get ahead of that curve before things get really, really bad. And I talk to a lot of people who are in the business of selling their knowledge, and that's what I'm in the business of. I sell my knowledge all the time for a pretty good price. I help people set up businesses to sell their knowledge. And if you're someone who has a lot of experience, like you've worked for a company that where you were like you had enough wisdom to train somebody else. You had enough wisdom to teach somebody else. And this could have been in a managerial position. This could have been in a supervisory position. This could have been in like a vice president position or president of a division. All those areas where you had more knowledge than somebody else. Doesn't have to be a lot more knowledge, just has to be a little more knowledge. All those areas where you were considered like a good trainer or someone who's really good at teaching somebody else the ropes of your business or the ropes of the company you worked for, or you communicated very well. The world needs people like you, regardless of the skills you have. People that train and communicate well are in demand all of the time. And I kid you not, I have several clients, almost all my clients, I believe, are people that just train other people, and they get paid very well from it. I've got people who charge, everywhere from like $97 a month to $5,000 a month. And what they do is they make the path easier for someone else. Now, when you had a job before, you just did that as part of your job. You may have been a professional trainer or a supervisor or whatever it is. You just did it as part of your job. It's no big deal. You got paid for your job, and then you were an implied trainer. I'm here to tell you that, outside of that job, if you've got any of those type of training or knowledge sharing skills, you are an asset to the market, and you should sell those skills. I have had several jobs over the years, and I'm going to tell you, the job of teaching people, the job of sharing your knowledge, not the volunteer stuff. You guys know I do a lot of volunteer work. Well, when my school's not closed, I do a lot of volunteer work. But the business of basically taking your knowledge, formalizing it, laying out in step-by-steps, doing videos, doing live streams like I'm doing, whatever, that is a profitable business model. And if it's something you've thought of, then I want you to get a glass of wine or something and think about it a lot harder, because it's a way to make money. The good part about it is you can do it 24/7. You can do it on a one-off basis or a recurring basis. The business can be as big as you want it to be or as small as you want it to be. You can work from anywhere, and I shit you not, from anywhere, from an airplane, from a cruise ship, from your mom's place in Seattle, from San Diego, from France. It doesn't really matter where you are. When you are someone who sells your knowledge and your wisdom for a profit, you are, in my opinion, it just is the ultimate job. I mean, I like to fly airplanes, so if I was doing that and flying airplanes at the same time, I would be set. It would be hard to get me on the ground. But so if you are someone who, in these trying times in 2020 is having a rough time making money or making ends meet, or you're looking for, you see the writing on the wall with your business, you either reach out to me, go watch some of my previous videos on this. I have a pretty decent sized Facebook group. I think it's called Empire Builders. It talks about thought leadership and how to make money doing this. But I'm really going to be somewhat chomping at your heels to do this, because right now we're seeing with the pandemic and with the layoffs that how vulnerable we are. Everything that we do, or a lot of the businesses, the service-oriented businesses, the entertainment-oriented businesses, a lot of that stuff is vulnerable, and those positions are going away. I mean, theaters are closing, amusement parks are closing, bars are closing, restaurants are closing, and they're not opening up anytime soon. I mean, if you've been in the restaurant business, you know that runs on a pretty thin margin, and being closed for a day or two can hurt your bottom line, let alone months. And I live in Oklahoma City, and I've seen plenty of my favorite places just dive bomb, they're just not around anymore. So that's my point of this video today. And now, how do you do it? I'm going to basically share some information with you here that I normally share when I'm consulting. And oftentimes, first of all, I tell people that if you want to get in this business of being a thought leader, of sharing your knowledge, first of all, take what you know and try to sketch it out on the back of an envelope. I love back of envelopes for some reason. I'm never sure why. Sketch out what you know on the back of an envelope, and maybe and to give it some structure. For example, when I talk about setting up a home office or setting up a course online or teaching someone how to do something, it's always good to know that there's a step A, B, C, and D, or a step 1 through 10. I mean, just get a very, very basic layout. Don't worry too much about the steps. Don't worry too much about creating the content. I'm in the marketing business, and I'm going to tell you that marketing is going to be the most important thing of what you have coming up. So get whatever knowledge you have in your head laid out in some very, very basic form, and then just stop. Stop for a second while that's laid out, and then I'm going to basically pivot your neck a little bit and talk to you a little about the marketing. Because people often think that having that content or having the thing you're going to sell is the most important thing, and I'm going to tell you that's bullshit. You can sell stuff that hasn't even been created yet, as long as you verbalize it correctly. So you can just sketch out like the basics of what you know and what you want to teach somebody, and then market it later and then sell it later. So do that. Sketch out the basics of what you know and then pivot over to marketing. What are some good things to do to get marketing up and running fast? In 2020, what are we here? We're the last third of 2020, right? We are in September 2nd is what I believe we are. The first thing I think you should do in marketing, you know what? I'm not going to say the first thing. I'm going to say one of the first 5 things. So I'm going to give you 5 things, and they are not going to be in any particular order. And I'm going to make them very easy because you don't live in this world that I live in. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds about the technical stuff. I just want to talk about the basics of what it takes to start selling what you know. First of all, I would take your social media accounts and I would update them today, basically saying you are on the market. My name is Patrick. I sell, woodworking services. If you need any custom woodworking done, here's my cell number. Here's my email address. Just get that out there. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed to use your social media accounts to promote yourself. People will understand it, I promise, and you'd be surprised of the friends and family that say, hey, I've been thinking about doing this, but I didn't know anyone that did this. I didn't know you had this skill. And so just do that. Go on your social media accounts, every single one of them, daily, and say, I do this. Change the phrasing up a little bit, maybe use some different imagery, but just go out there on social media and say, hey, I do this. So that's one of the first 5 things I would do. The other thing I would probably do is I would create, it's easier creating a Facebook fan page than it is a whole website. So create a Facebook fan page. Get the profile picture updated, get the cover art updated, start putting out maybe daily or weekly updates with examples of your work. And again, go back to your personal Facebook accounts and just start inviting people. Invite your mom and your dad and your brother and your sister and your uncles and ask them for invites also. I mean, there's no shame in that. There's no embarrassment in that at all. So your Facebook account, or your social media accounts are kind of like your website, except for they're really easy and they're put together by somebody else. So now you've got a professional social media presence, semi-professional. Please don't focus too hard on how it looks. Done is better than perfect. I'm really big on getting things done. So you've announced that you're in business. You've basically hung your hat out, whatever you want to call it, that you're in business. You've kind of established a social media presence. Then I would maybe go back to those 10 things that you or 5 things or 20 things of how you laid out your course, and maybe work on that a little bit more because you're going to start getting business pretty soon. And so just maybe refine that a little bit, type it up, give it a name, think about what you might charge for it. Don't be cheap. Please do not be cheap. So go back and work on that list of 10 things a little bit that you can teach right there. And also realize that sometimes somebody only may want one of those 10 things or one of those pieces of the pie that you are really good at. And that's okay. Just be prepared to price for that also. Okay, you've announced it on your personal social media, you've announced it on your business social media. The next thing I would do is try to figure out a way to take someone's money. And I know that sounds really rude, but come on, we know what we're talking about. Find a way to take payment. Because what's going to happen is after you're doing some of the stuff I'm talking about for a few days, all of a sudden someone's going to come up and say, hey, I've got a job for you. How do I give you money? And you want to be prepared for that. The easiest way is a PayPal account. You can go to PayPal, issue invoices. People can pay them pretty easily. Same thing with Stripe. I'm a big Stripe fan. So either get a PayPal account or a Stripe account, because with both those, you can take people's credit cards information and you can get that money into your bank account. Personally, if I had a choice, I would lean towards Stripe and not PayPal. PayPal has a bad habit of holding on to your money sometimes when they're not quite sure what you're doing because they're ignorant. Stripe is pretty good about making sure transactions are good, and Stripe is really good about getting money to your bank account fast, like within 48 hours sometimes. So Stripe account is my preference there. So you've got a Facebook fan page now. You're announcing it to your friends and family from your personal Facebook accounts. You kind of got laid out what you want to sell right there. And you've got a way to accept payment. Now what comes next? I said I'd give you 5 things, didn't I? So we're up to number 4 here. And again, I'm just talking about these off the top of my head when I think about starting a business. When I think about the things I wish I'd known in October of 1998 when I went out on my own, I was stuck in the freezing cold on a contract in Iowa, and I could barely afford to pay my hotel. Yeah, that actually happened. I actually got stuck in a hotel, and I didn't have the money to pay the bill yet, because it was a longer term contract and I was going to get paid while I was staying in the hotel. And lucky for me, the hotel I stayed at was very understanding, because there's nothing a little bit more embarrassing or shaming or humiliating than coming in and out of the hotel and trying to sneak past the front desk without them saying, hey, Mr. Allman, you come here for a second? That's a hard one to get by. It really is. So I went through that. Okay, back to number 4. So we've talked about taking money. Oh, pricing. That's what I want to talk about. Is try to figure out how you would sell something like this in terms of pricing. And there are 2 pricing models that I would recommend that you start off with, just to keep it simple. A pricing model for maybe some hourly work. Now, people that have followed me for a while and listen to the podcast and subscribe on YouTube are going to realize that, Patrick, you are wholly against hourly work. Why would you suggest someone do this? I would suggest someone do this because hourly work in the beginning, there is no shame with it. However, you are teaching now, and your hourly time is worth more. So here are some tips. So I'm going to go into like 4A and 4B when it comes to tips. Number 1, don't bill by the single hour, bill by blocks of hours. Because you, with your particular skill set, you never want someone to buy just a 60-minute block. Because more than likely what you teach is pretty advanced. You've been doing it for a while. And people don't know it yet, but they want 2 hours, and they want 4 hours, and they want 8 hours. So come up with a 2-hour block of time. I'm going to make it really simple for you. Come up with a 2-hour block of time and charge for that. Or figure out what you would charge for that, excuse me. Don't be cheap. You know what? You're not working for minimum wage anymore when you're teaching someone. You are selling your brain, which is taking you decades to fill with information. So you are, what do you charge? Let's say you're good at woodworking. What do you charge? Maybe $100 for a 2-hour block. Maybe $500 for a 2-hour block. Right now, I have no problem telling you that my 2-hour block is $1,000. If you want, I don't let people buy single hours anymore. You buy a 2-hour block of $1,000 if you want to talk to me and get some one-on-one consulting, and it's recorded, and it's professional, and it's organized. So when you're thinking about pricing, don't be afraid to price high. You're going to be tempted to go out there and look at other people that are doing what you're doing and try to price stuff like them. And I see this all the time. I'm in several marketing groups, I'm in some print-on-demand groups, and people pop in there all the time. They're like, what is everybody else selling their stuff for? Because I want to make sure I'm right at the industry average. And I'm like, screw the industry average. There are times when you want to be a commodity, and selling your brain power is not one of those times you want to be a commodity. Trust me. You want to stand out a little bit. Now you may be thinking, well, Patrick, if my competitor over here charges, $200 for 2 hours of my time, how can I justify charging $300 or $350 or $400? The way you can justify that is by being better than your competitor, so they are no longer your competitor. Remember, your competitor is someone who sells exactly what you're selling in terms of skills or education at the exact same price. Who wants competitors? I've got other digital marketing agencies, for example, that hire us, and they go out looking for people, and they look at what we do and they realize, well, you know what, we don't really have any competition. That's not to say that we're egotistical and we're huge. What it means is I try to frame what we do using certain phrasing. So they may go to agency A, agency B, and agency C, and they say the same thing, yada, 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 yada. And then I say, well, we don't do that. This is what we do, and this is how we charge for it, and this is the results you get. And if I get price resistance or people balking at what I charge, I'm like, well, you know what? Then that is the agency for you, not me. Have a nice day, my friend. And sometimes they will go off and work with that other agency, and sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, well, you know what? I really like you. I really trust you, and what we really need is what you sell. So let's run with it. Good stuff. So come up with a 2-hour block of time and what you would charge for it. And then maybe also come up with like a larger project type, a larger project type price, maybe a monthly retainer price. Again, I'm trying to make this information somewhat generic and somewhat kind of trying to cover lots of things, because I don't know if you teach restaurant management. I don't know if you teach, financial planning skills. I don't know if you teach accounting skills. I don't know if you teach someone how to shoot a basketball better. I don't know if you teach someone how to do handstands, or how to build houses, or how to, build rocking horses. I really don't know what it is that you're teaching. So I'm trying to make my information kind of knowledge and kind of generic here. So you've announced, you've announced that you're in business on your personal Facebook accounts. You've created a business Facebook accounts. You've kind of sketched out what your product and service is. You kind of quantified your knowledge, and then you've worked on pricing. And remember, when it comes to pricing, you don't want to be cheap in what you sell or in what you buy, either one. So you've got those 4 things laid out. I told you I was going to give you 5 things. Then the 5th thing that I would start doing is more of kind of a recurring thing. And that is demonstrate your knowledge to people to make it very easy to buy from you. What does that mean? Well, you hear this word called content a lot. And if I were you, I would start taking some of those accounts, some of those social media accounts, and start talking about what you know about in little small bite-sized chunks. You know what? Are you good at drywall work? Then show people some examples of some drywall tricks. They're going to try it. They're going to screw it up. They're going to get frustrated with it, and they're going to call you. If you're good at soundproofing a room, I've got some decent soundproofing knowledge. You can see kind of right back here. I've got some past recording studio knowledge. I would never sell that knowledge because I'm not great at it. But if you're someone who's really good at design or doing stuff like I'm doing, soundproofing, make short videos or maybe short blog posts and talk about what you do. That is the quickest way I have learned. It's also the cheapest way, but that is the quickest way I've learned to get hired for a job. You're just talking about what you do. Don't shove it in people's faces, but maybe when you're out and about in a social situation, talk about what you do, because you never know that they may know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and they're like, oh shoot, I need that drywall guy. That guy Patrick, I met at the party the other day or at the coffee shop. He's a good drywall guy. I need to reach out to him. Or they're gonna see you online and you're gonna hit them right when they need something. You're gonna put a video up online about 3 quick drywall tips. And this is right after this guy was working on his house and he got so pissed off that he punched a hole in his drywall, and he needs someone to fix it right now. Now, if that's the case, sometimes you may actually get hired to do the work. Nothing wrong with that either, but sometimes that particular guy with the drywall problem doesn't want to hire a drywall person. He just wants to fix it himself. So there's multiple ways to get work when you are selling your knowledge. One is by actually doing the work for people, and one is by training people how to do it better. And the reason, there's just so many reasons I'm such a big fan of selling your knowledge. And you can go on YouTube and you can see millions of these reasons. Go on there and look up a complex topic. Like I had a BMW a while back, and the battery was dead, and I was having trouble working with the shifter. Because when the battery's dead, the shifter doesn't work, and so there's so many videos I found on how to do certain things with BMWs, and car shops, for example, will do these short tip videos of how to move your BMW shifter when the steering column is locked and when the battery is dead, and they'll do a quick 5-minute video, and I'm like, crap, I could watch that from my car. Which I did, got in there with a screwdriver and fixed my little gear stick thing to get it to move when my battery was dead. But they did do a little bit of self-promo in those videos, but my whole point is the internet is filled with people sharing their knowledge. Some people do it for free and for fun. Other people like me, I teach people how to do it and get paid as a result of it. So, that would be my 5th tip, is to basically talk about what you know about. And you may think, getting back to the whole personal Facebook account thing, you may think that your friends and family are going to get tired of that crap. You know what? They just might. And if they do, then screw them. Okay? You're a business owner now. You're an entrepreneur, and you're going to be talking about what you do for a living. Feel free to sprinkle in some humor, some jokes. You don't have to be all serious about it, but you know what? you need to get paid, and you need to run a business, and you need to keep the lights on, and you need to put food on the table. And especially right now, where are we at? We're September 2nd, 2020. Especially right now when shit's just getting hard, there's really not any rules, and you really shouldn't listen to people that say, well, now is not the right time to start a business, or you shouldn't be self-promoting on social media. And you're going to get family members that are going to message you on Facebook and say, I can't stand your stupid videos. Stop doing those. You're going to have to squash those voices, because, again, I am here to keep you fed. I am here to help you feed your family. And if you don't do that, the repercussions are, pretty tragic. I do not want you getting kicked out of your house. I do not want you living in your car. I do not want to pull up on the side of the road and see you panhandling. I'm not putting down any of the people where those things happen to them, but I want to keep you in a situation to avoid you from getting there as much as possible. So again, the 5 things that I was talking about, if you think it, and again, for those of you that are coming in late, I'm talking about maybe some things you can do late in 2020 if your job forecast looks bad, if you're thinking about losing if you think you're going to lose your job, if you know a family member who's lost a job, if you see something on the horizon, or if things are already bad and you need to basically take some action pretty quick, that's who this video is for. And I talked about, number 1, I think I said, announce that you're in business. No, I think number 1 I said, kind of sketch out your knowledge into 5 or 10 easy steps. That was number 1 I said. Then number 2 I think I said was announce that you're in business to your friends. That's what I said, announce that you're in business. And then I think I said create a fan page or create a business account. I'm not quite sure if that's what I said right there. Then I said make sure you go, and then I said talked about pricing and making sure you kind of have a bulk rate for a large project, maybe a smaller rate for a 2-hour block of project. And then I talked about going back and basically quantifying your knowledge a little bit better, and making sure that when someone calls you and they're like, Patrick, I want to buy this from you, what do you sell? You can give them a really good value proposition. You can say, I sell A, B, C, D, E, F. And you can be very confident in that, because you are the smartest person you know on your topic, or you're damn near the smartest person you know. And then I think the last thing I talked about was, eating my own dog food, and doing what I'm doing right now with you is take that knowledge you have, whether it's woodworking knowledge, whether it's fitness, whether it's teaching people how to manage their macros, whether it's teaching people how to do really good drywall work, or framing a house, or framing a room, or working on the transmission of the car. Show people that you know what you are doing, because they're going to be out on the internet shopping for people, and they're going to run across a lot of different variations between these, but basically these 2 people. They're going to run into people who have websites who basically talk a good game, and they're going to run into people who have websites that show a good game. And as we all know, when it comes to all kinds of sports analogies, you can trash talk all you want, but you better shut up when the ball's on the court, because you've got to play. And all the trash talk doesn't mean anything, if you can't man up and shoot and hit the threes and play the game. You know how I know this? Because I can't shoot a 3 to save my life. So don't necessarily be that person who just talks a good game. Be that person who shows people that you know what you're doing. So by the time people come to hire you, I've talked about these great examples before. By the time people come to hire you, there's no question. They don't have any question as to whether or not you are good. It's just a matter of price and availability. And if they really trust you, I'm going to tell you that if they really trust you, price doesn't matter that much. I mean, they may, if there are price conscious shoppers, price aware shoppers, and you are not going to convince those people. Okay? You're not going to convince those people. They are looking for the absolute cheapest person out there. You do not want that person. There may be some rare exceptions, but I usually believe you do not want the person that's shopping based on price. You want the person who wants quality, who wants a long-term relationship. But the great part about sharing your knowledge online is by the time they get to the buying decision and they've watched your information online, they trust you. There's no selling. And I'm speaking from experience. This has happened to me. I have people calling me, not all the time, but it happens fairly regularly, that have seen my content online about what I do when it comes to digital marketing, Facebook ads, lead generation, trading certain things. I have certain sub niches that I like to focus on. And I had one the other day, as a matter of fact. Was it earlier this week? I'm not quite sure. I had someone who called or had it via connection, and I said, they were looking for a certain thing. They were looking for a certain skill set, and we did a half-hour, 45-minute call on that skill set. And at the end, I said, you know what? I'm not a good fit for you. I'm really not. You need a certain skill set, and I don't have it. And I thought that was going to be the end of the call. I really did. And then the person said, well, Patrick, I have done my research on you. I've watched your videos. I've been to your website, and I kind of really don't care that you have this skill set. I want your skill set. I want to do what you do, regardless of if it matches up the skill set that's up with. Or actually, they wanted me to help them do the particular stuff that we do when it comes to marketing a certain way. They wanted it that way, regardless if it matched their project. So they were actually willing to change their project to match my skill set. And this only happened because they researched me online, and they researched the fact that I've demonstrated my skill online hundreds, if not thousands of times. And I've been on TV for it. I've gotten paid very well for it. And I'll have to talk about that. It's good for them. It's good for me, and it's sharing my knowledge. And if you know me, if you don't know me, you're going to subscribe to the podcast. You're going to subscribe on YouTube because you're really smart, and you're going to like the Facebook fan page because you're really smart. But if you don't know me, start learning about me. And when you start learning about me, one of the things you're going to learn is that I like to share what I know. It doesn't matter if it's on a personal level, on a fitness level, even though I'm not that great of a fitness person, on a business level, on an accounting level, on a teaching level, on a relationship level. I mean, the knowledge I have, even if it's a little bit of knowledge, I have no problem sharing that with people. It brings joy to me. And, if I could pay my mortgage and pay my grocery bill just based on the knowledge that I share with people, I would gladly do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. So I want you to be able to do that. And I want you to be able to do that before shit gets really bad for you in 2020. So if anything in your world looks like it's going to be, struggling pretty soon financially, do me a favor, go back and watch this video, bookmark this video, listen to this podcast, go subscribe on YouTube and watch this video over and over. And you might even want to share it with a friend who's in financial difficulties. I mean, let's help some people out. Let's make sure people that have something to sell in their brain aren't struggling. But please get ahead of that and start figuring out a way that you can sell what you know, because it's gonna do good for you. It's gonna do good for your family. It's gonna keep food on the table, even if it is Hamburger Helper. Ain't no shame in that. Man, I've eaten my share of Top Ramen and a Hamburger Helper and macaroni and cheese, all that crap. I could, at one point in time, I could go to the store with a $10 bill and buy, all kinds of Top Ramen and be set for a week. I've eaten all that. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just what you had to do at the time. So again, I hope this has been useful for you. If you have some questions, as always, drop them in the comments below. Let me know if there's something else business-wise you want to talk about to help you get through 2020, because I'll share everything I know. It doesn't matter if I know a lot about it. I'll share what I know. And if I know someone who knows more than me, I will gladly refer you to that person. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your evening. Self-promotion time. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and don't forget to watch on YouTube, because you will get yourself a lot smarter than you are right now. Take care.